What's going on? What's cracking? What's good? Good people. It's the girl Irene, the motherfucking passion queen, back at you with another one. Welcome to the Queendomme, where we talk about life, love, sex, and everything in between. Hopefully, y'all have a good Tuesday today. Y'all know my favorite saying, "Happy Taco Tequila Titty Tuesday." If you buy a girl some tacos and tequila and tell her she pretty, she just might, maybe, possibly, with consent, show you her titties. It ain't a guarantee though. So today we are talking about Masturbation May with my good friend Nicole and the amazing Eli Daniel. Hey y'all, how y'all doing today? Y'all good?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you all?
I'm good.
I'm good too. Good to see
I,
you.
yes. So I did want to start by giving, for those who don't know, Masturbation May is an actual celebration, so to speak. So it started in 1995 by a sex positive toy company named Good Vibrations in response to the firing of U.S. excuse me, U.S. Surgeon General Joycelyn Elders for stating that masturbation should be a part of sex education. Basically, she just wanted to normalize masturbation to help reduce the stigma around it and also give, of course, another option other than going out and having sex. As a person who grew up in the South, in the Bible Belt, in the heart of it all, baby, it was either keep a nickel between your legs or you're gonna come out with a whole bunch of diseases. There was no in between with sex education. Okay. They were not trying to give you an option for anything else. They said either you gonna wait till you get married, or if you do it before you're married, all your stuff is gonna bump up and fall off. Is literally kind of what sex education was for myself growing up. And I well, thank God my mama was not that, she was not that much of a religious fanatic to the point where it was that crazy. She actually gave me some literature. My mother is very much a nerd like myself. And so she literally gave me books to read about sex and puberty and your body changing and all the things. So like I had all the information that I needed. Thank God I did not have to depend on just the sex education of the school system like many of my friends did at that time. Some of those conversations
Mm-hmm.
was crazy. So crazy. So my first question to you all is going to be, what was sex education like for you growing up?
Who's first?
I'll let Nicole go first this
Okay.
time. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Sex education for me. I do vaguely remember learning a little bit about like just sex in your body. In I want to say if it wasn't grade school, like sixth grade, it was probably like junior high sometime. Where they had you in separate classes and taught you about your body. And, after that class, everybody's kind of looking at each other, guys and girls are looking at each other like, I didn't know this goes on. I didn't know about that. Or, oh, that's nasty or whatever. Um, but I too was a curious child. I too was a nerd. So, I didn't just take what they told me in school. Like my mom taught me some things, she was in the medical field, but, my family, even though they weren't super religious, my family's from the Caribbean. So that's its own set of like understanding and superstitions and myths. And just like you said, certain thing, you do certain things, something to fall off. Or it wasn't always about the get you pregnant part, but I do remember my mom always telling my brother and myself, like if you are gonna do it, make sure you protect yourself. She always said box with gloves, if you will. But she would tell us stuff like that. But I was curious on my own. I would watch the shows that you're not supposed to watch, supposedly.
Hmm.
I would read for sure. I read a lot of different things. I looked up a lot of different things. I listened to people, as I grew up, listened to them talk about their experiences. And and that made me curious about, like, okay, well, if it's supposed to be like that, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I do want to know what this is like, even down to when I had my first when the guy first asked me about giving him head, he was just like, I don't know. He's like, I just really like you, and I don't know if you do that, but if you do, I would like you to do it with me. And me having that mental battle between, should I do this, because I consider myself one of those good girls, like not goody two shoes for real, but just like I didn't want to be labeled, even though
Mhm.
at that time I didn't know that you don't have to tell nobody nothing and they won't know anything. So who's going to judge you if they don't know nothing? So,
Amen.
so I struggled with that for a while, even though I was very, very curious and wanted to know what that was like. And still finding out, at that age, I didn't know my sexual self yet, for sure, or what like my desires or how sexual I was at that age. I definitely wanted to do it, but I struggled so much that I was just like, no, I'm not going to do it because, I feel like I don't want nobody to know. I don't want to be looked at as whatever, a hoe or fast or anything that they were calling anybody who was deemed promiscuous at that time. So, but
Mhm.
it didn't stop me though from continuing to be curious, continuing to learn, through books, through m- shows, movies, through experiences, my own experiences, and other people's experiences, to know more about what to do, what not to do, what's what, learning anatomy and physiology and all of these things. So, yeah.
Okay. All right, Eli.
Oh man, that was a really good answer. I learned a lot about you in your sex education history from grade school, and then your own curiosities. So thank you for sharing. Sex ed for me was really similar. They did separate us by gender, boys in one class, girls in another class. And pretty much like Nicole said, we came back and it's like, oh, you do that? That happens to your body? What are you talking about? Y'all are vampires. Y'all bleeding don't die. Like all these, silly things. Um, we thought blue balls was real. So the education was as comprehensive as it could be. They told us about the reproductive system. They gave you the basic scares of if you do this, that this will happen. You'll burn in hell,
Mhm.
fire, brimstone. Marriage apparently cures all.
Right.
That part.
Right.
So that was very much a part of my formal education in school. However, at home, my mom was a sex worker and there were all types of sex toys in the house. So I had lots of questions for her. And as soon as my first wet dream, I think I was between 11 and 13. Right after that, I was masturbating every day. Like my life depended on it. And through that, I learned a lot about my body and myself, and I still think that it's a beautiful thing. Um, so that's the long and short for my answer.
I think that's the last part that you mentioned about how how you led into masturbation. I think that's a really good thing to mention because, and I know it's very different. A lot of because of a lot of like what Nicole was saying, the stigma behind if somebody finds out, how will I be labeled? Which sometimes, and you may agree or disagree, y'all can let me know how y'all feel. I do feel like the stigma was a lot a lot heavier for girls than it is for boys,
Hmm.
because good girls don't do that, good girls don't do this. Was a lot of the things that I grew up hearing. Even though I was extremely curious, and I want to
Mm,
say my first time that I can remember, like equating the sensation that I was feeling, or what I was feeling, to self pleasure, to masturbation, and being able to ultimately, I guess, relieve the feeling is the best way to put it. I probably was probably around like 10 or 11. I know I hadn't fully hit puberty yet, but I do remember like that moment of going, oh, doing this feels good. Doing this when I'm starting to feel certain things like gets me to this point, like really connecting those dots, not fully understanding everything around it. Because I feel like this was either like right before I got the book from my mom, or maybe right after. because it was still in that phase of trying to understand everything that was changing within my body and all that kind of stuff. So it was like, and I don't think I hit I lie. Yeah, I might have hit puberty around that time. So yeah, it was around the time when I first hit puberty. Um, and then very much sneaking to watch real sex at night. And that real sex was the window into the things that made me go, whoa, what is all of this? All of this sounds wild and crazy. And of course, real sex did not show a lot of us. So
Yeah.
there was this other layer of like, is this something that we do? Because it intrigues me to a certain level. Some of this I'm like, hey, that's a little bit too much. Um, but it definitely like, intrigued me and like pushed me towards that way. And I remember like my first, I guess, quote unquote, real boyfriend or whatever. There were moments of, going into phone sex and, um, baby, before you could send pictures on the phone, risking your, risking your life with Polaroids, Jesus. You hear me?
Risking
Mm.
life with Polaroids.
I, there
Crazy
were
work.
several Polaroids of me floating around my high school, so I know what you mean.
You feel
Um,
like you was risky. Hey, you was risking it for a biscuit
so
back in the day. Y'all think y'all be doing something next, baby. That
may,
was
may, may I
you.
interject and say this? I
Of
think
course.
that the weight of being promiscuous is the same for both, because not everybody excoriates both sides of the fence. Some people will tell you you're doing great, you're liberated, you should do what you want. So it really depends on the voices that you hear, but both people can take on the burden and it could be heavy or light. So I don't think any concept that we deal with, other than certain, like, there are very unique things that are specifically that may be a greater issue just because of the way our bodies are. But like, as a person who owns a phallus, being promiscuous is not looked at, because it takes two. So it's not just you; it's who you're doing it with. And so
Mhm.
the parents of those people say, stay away from him. He's trouble. He'll get you pregnant. Like, so you still get ostracized, and you get shunned out of certain parts of the community. It looks different, because it feels different in our body when it's someone else. So it's easy to say my plight is heavier, but I'm not into the trauma Olympics.
Of course not. But I appreciate you putting it that way because I think it's for growing up as a girl. I think because they put so much weight on, like, this is me looking at how my parents talked to both myself and my brother. Um, I feel like there was more weight of them thinking about, oh, if you get pregnant, you're bringing the baby home type, thing, which my parents are very much old school. So I've grown to understand where their thought process was at that time. Also,
Well, but the
going to,
difference is, so if that remains true, then your brother would have to man up and take care of the person, and then probably more than likely marry them. So the burden just is different. It doesn't. It's not that the burden is different because of the position you're
Mhm.
in.
Right.
So for me growing up, it's like, you get somebody pregnant, you got to marry her and take care of that child for the rest of your life and their life. So the burden is just different. One person may be the carrier of it, but the expectation is, if I do this, I am now the father and husband of this human. And now, regardless if I'm 15, 13, 17, I'm now a man, and I'm expected to do everything that a man does. Conversely, those same expectations are thrown on the opposite side, and there's the vitriol may feel different,
Hmm.
because there's a level of praise that both genders may get. Girl, you free, you can do what you want. Oh, you a ladies man. But in reality, the responsibility of life still life. When you have a kid, you got a kid. Now,
True.
either side can shirk their responsibilities, but if you actually show up as a human, responsibility has a weight within itself. And I don't look at one side as being worse or harder than the other, because there's certain expectations like protection, provision. If in different things. So I just think we have different roles that they may place upon us,
Mm.
but the responsibility of being a parent is still great. The responsibility of adulting is still heavy.
Eh.
Um, and each side has their own drawbacks or their own barriers to that. So,
Right.
but I do want to ask you a question because when we talked before we got here, we talked about masturbation. And to me, masturbation is not just sexual pleasure, it's all pleasure. So when I
Uh-huh.
take a bath, when I'm showering, when I'm at the gym, I'm exercising so my body has enough stamina, strength, agility, flexibility, mobility for all the pleasures that I want to engage in, whether it's eating, swimming, sitting, watching TV, sexual things, self-touch. So masturbation to me, in short, is pleasure of everything that our body can experience, regardless of whether it's sexual or other. Any appetite that we can satiate is a form of masturbation. And
Mm.
I think when you see it that way, you'll have so much more fun in everything that you're doing.
Oh, if y'all don't realize okay, so this second time Eli has been on here, but this is probably we had a long conversation the first time we met. Then you came on the show the first time, and now I love talking to you. I really do because it's always wonderful to be able to get such a different perspective on things. Um, and I would have never looked at masturbation in that way. Like I get exactly what you mean by explaining it that way, but I definitely never would have connected the dots
Just take
and
out
looked at it that
take
way.
out sex. It's to self
Pleasure.
please.
Pleasure.
So if you take out sex, what do you enjoy doing for yourself? And
Mm-hmm.
the reason why masturbation is so important, to Nicole's point, is you learn to do something for yourself. If everything is external of you, then you look for your partner to. You're looking for someone outside of you to soothe or satiate you. When you learn to be secure and self-soothing is all things. As a person who has three children, children masturbate all day. When they've
Mm-hmm.
discovered that the finger, they're like, oh my God, oh, and they're just biting their finger. They're like just pinching their skin. They're having the greatest time,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just having fun. So even when they discover their genitalia, they're just flicking it, just having just so. Why can't we have that same curiosity and excitement towards our body in all things?
Right.
Going to the gym, making sure you meditate in the morning, making sure that you clear your mind before you go to sleep, making sure you sleep properly. When you take care of yourself and you do things for yourself and you put yourself at the center of your world, you show up better for your friends, you show up better for everyone around you, and you can truly be happy. But when pleasure and joy only exist outside of you, you have no control. So no matter the gender, if you say I never have an orgasm, that's no one's fault but your own.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
If we center
This is true.
ourselves in everything and you keep it that, it's your job to seek pleasure and make sure that no one should have to force feed you. No one's going to force you to eat and sleep. So all things that you can do for yourself, if you see it as a form of masturbation, you look at it from a form of curiosity, pleasure, and joy. How can I maximize this? How can I increase this? Not, oh, I'm just taking the shower again. Oh, I'm just going to the gym. It's like I'm going to the gym so I can be healthy enough to fuck. I want
Right.
to be 80 and still have sex. And when a doctor says, is your heart healthy? Half of us in America are having heart problems and we wonder why our sex is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Gender
Hmm.
aside, if you have blood flow problems, you're going to have a moisture problem or an erection problem. So,
All facts.
No
All
truth
facts.
is spoken. You know, and I want to take something from what Irene said too. Like every time, I mean, obviously, I think this is the first time that you and I are on a podcast together. But
mhm.
every time that I've seen you on a podcast or I listen to you, you know, I always love getting your. I always love hearing your perspective. I love hearing your stories and things like that. Um, so I always appreciate anytime I get to learn something from you. That's my, you know, that's my inner nerd. I love learning from other people. I like I was saying
Hmm.
before. So I love learning from you, and I love what you say as far as like, you know, we masturbate all the time. Kids masturbate all the time, or
Mhm.
please ourselves all the time in some way, shape, or form. So looking at everything that you do in your life as a form of self pleasure, I would, you know, I would just say self pleasure, not necessarily masturbate, but I understand why you say that. Um, if you look at it that way, you'll, I think it'll open up, like you're saying, like it'll open up so much more for you as far as
Hmm.
understanding how to how to enjoy things, not just sexual pleasure, but just how to enjoy everything, enjoy your body, enjoy yourself, so that when you do get to sex, like you understand how to open yourself up to receive that pleasure, not only just give it, but to receive it.
Yes, the purpose of that is to be somatically aware of what's happening in your body. If
Yeah.
you rush to eat and you now how fast you eat is not the thing. Can you taste the seasoning of the food?
Yes.
Um, are you able to enjoy the drink you're drinking?
Mm-hmm.
Can you sit and watch a movie and can you put your phone down and be present? So when we say our pleasure is not good, most of our pleasure is bad because we cannot be present within our body. So whatever you're doing, when we can slow down and be present, it's greater. The sensations we experience is much more intense. So the reframe, either way, the reason why I'm saying masturbation, because all things are forms of self pleasure. And let's just say self pleasure. You're eating, you're drinking, you're sleeping, you're entertaining yourself. You get dopamine when you plan to do things with other people. So I'm saying plan to do the same things for yourself, with yourself. Plan to take yourself on a date. Plan to know I'm going to rub one out in the shower. If you don't have a nozzle and you have a vulva, get you one of the shower heads that you can bring down to yourself and zip yourself in it. Like it's a whole experience. The showering would be better if every time you got in the shower, you knew you were going to end it with a climax or a happy ending.
Right.
One of my mentors, Amina Peterson, tells us to touch ourselves every morning without the intention of trying to have an erection, but just touch yourself, touch your body, wake yourself up. And these things, when you're somatically aware, every pleasure is greater. So it doesn't like you're scratching your head. If you slowed down, like when you're itching, scratching is so much more pleasurable. But if you took your time and just ran your fingers through your head for about 30 seconds, that sensation can be so pleasurable.
Yep.
And so that's what I mean about everything we do, think of it as a form of self pleasure, not just, oh, I'm brushing my hair. It feels amazing when you put a comb against your scalp.
Mm-hmm.
Chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm.
I
You're
think one of the
right.
things that's really important about this is so when I first started my career out as a sexual health educator and started going into, selling toys and having parties and all the things, a lot of what I heard from a lot of women, specifically older women, because at this time I'm like in my early 20s, so I'm thinking women who were the age I am now. So I'm 39. So we're talking about anywhere from like 35, 45 older. A lot of these women, had never experienced orgasms. They were very uncomfortable with the idea of self pleasuring and being in tune with their body. And that was one of my biggest things. It's like, hey, I'm not trying to force you to do something that you feel because the majority of the time it had to do with religion of why they felt that way. I'm not trying to get you to do anything that makes you feel, you know, ungodly, I guess is the best way to put it. But if you don't know your body, if you don't know what makes your body happy, how can you guide your partner into making sure that you're receiving the pleasure that you want to receive when you all are having sex or just having any type of intimate interaction? If you don't know what you like, if you don't know what your body likes, how can you help them? Like they don't automatically know, even though sometimes they may assume that they know, but it's not always correct because you are different from other people that they may have been
Hmm.
with. So when you start to reframe the fact of self pleasuring, not just in a sexual space, because when you started talking about it, I'm like, well, I already kind of feel that way about my child. So like, my skincare is a whole situation. And I mean not just my skincare on my face, but I really take the time with my skincare on my body, layering my fragrances, how I smell. Like it's a whole indulgence thing. And I love it. Like I love being able to still smell my clothes, like just of whatever concoction I have mixed. Like it's a whole thing. Because my
Hmm.
favorite thing is to walk somewhere or get a hug or something like that. Ooh, you smell so good. I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it because I need somebody to tell mouth to water every time they smell me. Every time they smell a chocolate chip cookie, I need you to be like, damn, I miss her. End of period. Because I smell like a whole bakery on a regular basis. But like when you think about it that way, it makes sense because when you take those pleasantries in life, it do listen. It makes things so much more worth it, and it can make your day even go better. So I love being able to have my time in the morning. That's why I love working from home now. So baby, I can take my time in the morning. I can have as long of a shower as I need, take as long as I need to put on the lotion, the body oils, all the things. It is a whole process, and I am totally fine with it. And so if you need me to go somewhere, you're gonna have to let me know.
in
I need
advance.
time. Right? I need time to get prepared because it's
Yes.
a process I gotta go through. Okay.
Yeah. No, I
No,
get
it's
that.
I don't. Hey, I'm not last minute. Hey, I got a process. I got a situation.
Like
Okay.
that too. I'm like that too. Especially, I would say definitely since COVID, I definitely took more time to like take a shower to indulge. Like showers is my therapy. Showers my meditation. That's the time where I find that I do get a lot more thoughts, and I can like get my center my thoughts and my feelings. But I do absolutely love taking a shower, taking that time to cleanse myself, to feel the different water temperatures. Do I need it really warm today, or do I take it warm and cool it down? Usually that's what I do. But just like the whole process of cleansing, and then like the moisturization process, and then like same thing with you with scents and stuff. Like I've definitely gotten more into like my scent after, like what I smell like, putting on body spray before I go to bed. Like that's not something I ever would have thought of doing, but like the scents that I use to go to bed, like I love the way it smells. Not only does it calm me down, but it just makes me feel good. Spraying my sheets, especially when they're fresh out the laundry, so that I have that comfort and that smell. No longer am I looking at scents like, ooh, I think somebody would like that. No, I love this because I love the way I smell. Like I smell intoxicating, like that kind of thing. So I agree with you. And then my self care days where I'm doing the body polish and all the extra steps and stuff like that, like even more so. If I love the way that I feel, it really doesn't matter what everybody else, they're gonna fall in line. They're gonna like it anyway because I love it.
Also thanks. Also thanks.
Yeah.
So since we're looking at at self pleasure outside of the realm of just the sexual aspect, what are some of those key things that you all like to do that fall under self pleasure that just really like it puts you in the right headspace? It really like it may calm your nerve. It puts a smile on your face. Whatever that may be. What are some of those things for you all?
For me, um, everything that I would do with another human, I do by myself. Um, so literally this weekend recently, I took someone on a date. It was a magical fucking experience. And then the next day, I took myself out. I had Dungeness crabs, corn, potato, and broccoli, just the way I like. I had my favorite beverage, which is ginger beer with lime.
Ooh.
Mm.
And then I played video games. The things that I would do with or for someone else, I do with myself. So I plan time alone. I plan time at the sauna. I mean the spa. I plan time to go to the movies. Everything that I enjoy doing, I plan time to do that with myself. And I put it in my calendar. And when you put it in your calendar, every time you see it, I get dopamine spikes. And so another thing I do for myself that is dope. Every time I get cash, I put it in the envelope, and then at the end of each season, I'll take that whatever's in the envelope and put it in a piece of clothing that I'm going to change out for the season. So the next time I wear it, or especially with shoes, I find money in my shoes all the time. It feels amazing. And those are things that I do for myself, like little teeny tiny things. Um, but it's all about self pleasure in every way that you could imagine.
I like that idea
Nicole?
of putting it on my calendar because I definitely don't do that. I might plan it mentally and then execute it. And sometimes I do things spontaneously, like, I don't feel like doing none of this other shit today. I'm gonna take myself out, but I definitely do take myself out on dates, you know, dinner and a movie, or, today I'm gonna take the day to just be with myself, unplug from everything and everybody, and go do something that I like to do, or go to the park and like, just sit, with my water. I drink a lot of water, but you know, with whatever it is, my favorite beverage, a snack or something like that, and go read. Um, just because I get that time to myself to like indulge in one of my favorite pastimes. So I
Hmm.
definitely love doing things like that. I do enjoy, spending time with other people, spending time with my parents, spending time with my mom because she's getting older. So I want to spend, get that time together that I'm not gonna get after a while. So, but like just treating myself for sure because I've always treated everybody else. I've always done stuff for everybody else my
Hmm.
whole life. So like taking more time to truly love on myself and treat myself, I do more of that for sure.
Hmm.
So a lot of the same. There are a few things that I have gotten to the point. Oddly enough, I wrote this list out because I'm turning 40 this year. So I wrote a list of 40 things that I've learned. Yeah, listen, it came out of nowhere because I don't feel it. But I wrote a list of 40 things, that I've learned in my lifetime. And one of those things was about learning to appreciate my own space, learning to be able to sit by myself, do things by myself, um, which has been as horrible as the pandemic was as a whole for me as an individual. It was probably one of the best things that happened to me because I was forced to do so many things that led me to be able to appreciate just me being me and not having to be in space with a bunch of people or with anybody, especially in situations where I don't really fuck with y'all like that for real. Like, why am I here? you know so so being able to do things like going out to the movies by myself prior to the pandemic, not really was my thing. It was not my thing. I will wake up and just get on the highway and go somewhere just because I woke up and felt like it that day. Now, so getting out, traveling by myself, uh, all those types of things, I've learned to enjoy and appreciate how fulfilled I get from doing those things and not having to wait to feel like I need to do this with somebody, or I have to have somebody next to me, or somebody needs to do this for me for it to be enjoyable. So being able to enjoy doing stuff for myself. Another thing is one thing about it to take sure if you know me, my nails is always gonna be done, and I am very adamant and picky about it. Like if my nails are not done, I'm probably not going anywhere. Uh, but keeping my nails done, even down to my haircut,
Hmm.
has turned into a form of self pleasure for myself because once again, I'm from the South. I'm from the Mississippi Delta. Love my grandmother is 94 years old, and every time she sees me, you ever gonna grow the size of your hair back, girl? No, I'm not. I love you and I understand it don't make sense to you in your southern mind as a black woman from Mississippi for your grandchild to shave half her head off is extremely wild and unheard of for you. I understand. But at this point in my life, you should know your grandchild. No, I'm not running back. um, but I'll like just doing those things, I've been able to find so much pleasure in those moments. And even like earlier, when I got done with work, I went and sat on my couch and it started storming. I was gonna cut the TV out. I just sat there and I just listened to the rain, and it was amazing. It was nice. I was able just to decompress and relax. Like even those little things, those little moments are so pleasurable to me now at this point in my life. I like looking at all this. See, you got me excited now because now I'm looking at all these things totally, and because I'm like, you know what? Now that you mention it like that, okay, all
So
right.
pleasure is so one of the things that I learned about pleasure that was really profound was just moving slower, just slowing down so you can enjoy the moment of what you're doing, not being in a rush. And the pleasure, the journey of pleasure, there's no destination. I just want to eat the food because I like the way it tastes. Um, I want to go swimming because I like the way the water feels in my body. I want to go sit on out in the park because I want to hear the birds sing. Doing things that are simple that bring you joy. Putting it on your calendar gives you dopamine. Generally, we have like the day we got to pay bills on our calendar. And most calendars, the way we use them, sometimes they're more punitive than expressive of joy. So that's why I said put them on your calendar, things that are positive, instead of, oh, the rent's due on the first, or some got a doctor's appointment. The things that bring you joy, putting them on your calendar when you see them will can change your whole day.
That's true. Now, something that you just mentioned, I do want to steer it a little bit more back to the sexual aspect, is the taking your time part. I feel like because we live in a society that is so focused on instant gratification that even down to sexual interactions, whether it's you as an individual by yourself or you interacting with someone else, a lot of times people try to move so fast with everything, like taking the time to just enjoy each other's presence, or just enjoy your own presence. Even I remember having a conversation with one of my clients one time and trying to talk her through the process of getting used to touching her own body. I was like, this isn't a race. The Don't think of it as as the goal, as climax. That's not your goal. Is not orgasm right now. Your goal is just to be comfortable in your skin. So set the mood. I remember telling her, set the mood, turn the lights down low, light candles, put on a playlist, drink some wine if you want to, or whatever your favorite cocktail is, take a long shower, like get comfortable with your body. And as you're going through the process of washing your body and lotioning your body, like take time to really caress your skin and feel yourself. And as you're going through this motion, if it leads you to stimulating yourself, then awesome. If it doesn't, then that's fine as well. But I feel like we always rush so much through those motions. Like people have it more quickies than they probably realize nowadays, because nobody's taking the time to really like indulge in foreplay like they used to. Um, I'll be honest with you, I feel like the only time is truly taken in my experience has been in moments of practicing things like BDSM, because you have to be so attentive to what you're doing in those moments. I feel like outside of those areas, that a lot of times it tends to be really, really rushed.
Hmm.
Uh, the sexual experience can be really rushed unless you and your partner have an understanding of, hey, I need you to slow down.
I can agree with that. Intentionality matters, and being slow sometimes is not the thing we're looking for. The reframe has to be, I think, especially when we're dealing with vulvas and penises.
Hmm.
Ejaculation doesn't stop anything. And generally, if a woman's using a strap, she recognizes that. Whether it's pegging or vulva to vulva, strap to vulva, or strap to anal, generally we recognize it's not dictated by an ejaculatory experience. So what you said about not having a destination in mind is important. It's just the act of doing the thing. So it's like I'm just excited to be here, so let's just be here. Is my mindset. Um, but it takes patience. It takes a lot, and the more pleasure you bring yourself, the more you're in a state of pleasure, and it's easier to recognize that pleasure is not as sparse, or it's not as scarce, rather. So
Hmm.
scarcity kind of breeds that mentality of I gotta rush, I gotta rush. So bringing an abundance of pleasure to yourself, more self-touch and things of that nature can help you slow down.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with both of you. Both of you. I was gonna say as well. I don't think it's always even a rush, especially when it comes to partner sex and foreplay. I don't think it's always a rush. I think sometimes it's not realizing that you can take more time to,
Hmm.
and you can stay in this foreplay phase for longer than you need to, just like you're saying, like it's not a destination. Just because, like, if somebody's giving someone with a vulva oral, just because they climax or they even ejaculate, doesn't mean that, okay, cool, you reached that point, now let's move on to the next thing. Like it doesn't need to be that. You could do that as long as you need to. I mean, shit, have sex until you tap out. Every phase of it, like please stop touching me. Let's go on to the next thing. That kind of thing. So I think sometimes, I think it's not equal, but I think it's a
Mm.
right, but also not realizing that you can take more time to do this part of what you're doing in your sexual experience. So, but I agree though. I agree with both of you.
Mm.
Okay. So, what what would be some advice for anyone who is trying to address the topic of masturbation with maybe their children or nieces and nephews and things, any child that's in their life? Because I was the auntie that nieces and nephews call. Oh, so I've had many a conversations. But what are some key things that you think are important in teaching about pleasure and masturbation and just the overall concept of it?
Are you? Is your question directed at is how do you teach children about masturbation?
Well, I guess it's more so like when you're talking about puberty and what's happening with your body and trying to normalize self pleasure as something that isn't taboo that a child shouldn't be feel dirty for or feel like they're going to get in trouble for. How would you frame or approach that type of conversation? I think maybe the better way to say that.
If you have sovereignty over your body, anything you do shouldn't be wrong with your body because you give consent to yourself. Um, I mean, it's like teaching them when they go to the bathroom. No one, it's the to me, it's the same as teaching them where people should and shouldn't touch them. And you know, you have to be honest when you take a shower and you're cleaning yourself as you come into puberty. Because I literally explained this to a young man just coming into puberty. I was like, there are gonna be times you're gonna be in the bathroom, you washing yourself, and be like, what was that? And it's like, and I told him if you touch yourself to a certain extent, something's gonna come out. Don't worry, you're not gonna die. Like I explained it to him at his mental and emotional capacity to understand because I know his friends are going to tell him things that are crazy. So I think that you have to explain it to a child in a way that makes sense to them. You don't have to say this is how you do the thing. You
Mm-hmm.
need to let them know when you're washing, hey, these things might happen. If you're a little girl and you get a shower head, you're like, yo, what the fuck just happened? I feel like I just, my knees got weak. Or a little boy, you putting soap on the head of your penis and you're like, oh my God, shit, oh, fuck, what the. They need to know that they're not dying. They need to know that it's a normal part of what happens. And when you give them that basis, they're kids literally sit in the corner and play with themselves, and there's adults have to tell them to stop. So they're gonna touch themselves regardless. We just need to let them know that there's nothing wrong with it because they're the ones
Hmm.
doing it, and that other people shouldn't do it. So it's really about explaining it at their level and letting them know that nothing is wrong with your body. These are the changes that you're going through, and this is what it looks like. I
And
think
there's
that's the best way. 'Cause you don't there's many things I didn't directly teach my children, but there
Right.
are things that you have to say, this is how you bathe yourself. Like you show them, you do it for them until they can watch you and do it, and you say, now you do it. So it's just like but when you go through that, hey, if you do this, if you have these sensations, that way makes the most sense to me, I would say.
hmm yeah, it's hard, especially if your question is saying you're talking to children who are not your own. You know what I mean? Because there's already a line. There's already that line of like, I don't want to try to tell you too much that to where your parents will feel uncomfortable with me saying something to you. But
Hmm.
also, but also, I don't know what they're teaching you, and I don't ever want to go outside of what your parents are teaching you or what they want you to know already. However, um, I agree. Like letting them know that, like, I mean, it's funny when you think about it, but like you're not gonna die. Like what you're feeling is not what and what you're feeling is not wrong. It's right, but I I think just going over there's nothing shameful, there's nothing wrong about what you're doing and what you're feeling. Um, you're naturally going to continue to be curious about it and try to regain that feeling again, to see, can it feel even better than this, or just explore that feeling. Like, that's natural, and you're going to want to do that, and that's fine. um, I think teaching them, I think telling them that, there's a time and place. Don't just sit on the couch and then, just openly doing this for the world to see. Like, this is your body, and you explore your body in the safety and the comfort of your space. Nobody else needs to know what's going on with that. You explore you. Nobody, just like you're saying, like teaching them, like, good touch versus bad touch. Like, this part is, is masturbation. It is solo pleasure. Solo meaning yourself. You are the one who should be doing this for yourself right now. There will come a time where other people will likely be involved, where someone else will likely be involved, but right now this is not the time for that. Explore your body, take your time, and do that. Do that safely. Do it, cleanly, as clean as possible, and things like that. And and ask the questions. If you need to ask the questions to myself or whoever you feel safe. Your friends don't know everything. They're learning just like you are. So they might not be the best people to ask. You can, but they don't know, everything. They're learning just like you. Find someone else that you trust, that you can ask whatever questions you need to. So I don't know. I think I would start there, because it's hard to say without knowing what their actual questions are. But I think just kind of like reinforcing it's okay, it's safe, it's normal, it's natural. Don't be ashamed of it. But also, this is your body. Make sure that you are the one who is touching your body and exploring this.
Right. Yeah, I've had several close friends who will specifically be like, "Hey, if you have questions, you can always call your TTI."
Yeah.
Because once again, some people just aren't 100% comfortable, and then they also don't know what to say. And I'm totally comfortable with having the conversation. I do specifically remember a client of mine. She wanted to purchase a sex toy for her. I think at the time her daughter was 16. I think she was like 16 going on 17, something like that.
Hmm.
And like when I did the parties, you had to be at least 18 or older to attend the parties. And she really wanted her daughter there. And I said, I'm sorry, unfortunately, she can't be. And then she had that discussion with me about purchasing a toy um, for her child. And of course, I told her, at the end of the day, is ultimately, you're her parent. So that's definitely a decision that you have to make. Do I necessarily think it's the perfect way, or the not even the perfect way, is it the most ideal way probably to introduce self pleasure to your child if they haven't even started exploring that just yet? I was like, I don't know. I think they should be a little bit more, if you're gonna have that conversation with them, have them be a little bit more comfortable with their bodies, because that's a whole nother world to open up. Because I even remember my first time going to a sex store. I was in college, and baby, when I say my mind was like, "Holy shit! What the hell is going on with all of this stuff?
Yeah.
And what do all
Look,
these things do? There's so much
people,
to take in."
I do just want to let you know this. People are putting cell phones in between their legs and having people call them. People are going to find a way to have fun.
True.
So
Facts.
True.
it's
Facts.
it's the one thing I can tell you is, if your kid is asking you a question, that means they already have a certain level of information, or at least curiosity about the thing.
100%.
And
Right.
because of the advent of the internet, your best bet is always find a way to, at their level, tell them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
This is also
That,
fact that this.
that's very true. Because if my to me, and I mean, please be more context with the woman who wanted to purchase a sex toy for her child. Because is it you found your child doing something, your child asked you a question, and you're just like, this is about that age, let me go ahead and give them something to do so without asking. Because to your point, Eli, like, you're absolutely right. Especially, I mean, if me, Irene, if you and I were watching fucking Real Sex and Taxi Cab Confessions when we were younger on HBO,
Listen.
because I sure
Mhm.
was. If I was already learning about that back then. If my mom decided to teach me by buying me a sex toy, I mean, I'm probably gonna have a million questions for her because it'd be like, "Oh, is this what you use when this, that, and the third?" And she's looking at me like, "How the hell did you know that?" Uh, I learned it on TV or I saw it here. So,
Right.
of course, having the internet now and TikTok and God knows what else, I'm sure they know about things. But I think it would be the first thing that you're gonna do before you buy your child a toy is sit down and have a conversation, see where they're at first, and make it comfortable for them, which is going to be hard, I'm sure, but make it comfortable for them to have that conversation or to even ask questions and then be like, okay, now that you know these things, I'm going to buy you a toy. Let's look together,
Right. Yeah,
like, what do you want and I'll buy it type.
it wasn't it. The girl had a boyfriend and she just didn't want her daughter to have sex.
Oh,
Is
okay.
really what it was. She
Oh,
didn't want her daughter to be out there having sex and get pregnant. So it wasn't even a situation of whether or not she didn't even at the time, mind you, this we're talking about at least 12, 13 years ago.
mm,
So keep that in mind as far as the, uh where we were with internet access on a regular basis. Or at least what I was accessible easily on the internet at the time. But if I remember the conversation correctly, no, it wasn't a conversation. It wasn't a situation of her daughter was already exploring and wanted to take it a little bit further. It was more so she just didn't want her out there having sex and messing around with the possibility of getting pregnant. Because I asked all those questions. I was like, okay, so has she said that she wanted to try a toy? Like, how are we getting here? Because I was trying to help her understand, especially because if this was a conversation you've already had with your child and you all have, she's already been exploring, then if you just really want to introduce a toy, then okay, then now I can help guide you to what may be the best option.
right.
Because whether or not I agree, that's not my responsibility. You are the parent. That baby. I can't tell you how to parent your child. Um, but yeah, so it wasn't that because I remember because I had those same questions like, did you catch her doing something? Was she using something that seemed unsafe to stimulate herself with? Like, how are we getting to the point of you wanting to purchase a sex toy for your teenager?
Mhm.
And it was she just didn't want that baby out there having sex with the opportunity of getting pregnant, which I don't necessarily agree with that as an alternative because as wonderful as self pleasure is, there are aspects of it that don't equate to what it's like to be with a partner. So you gonna stimulate yourself to a point, and
What,
depending on what your self control is
so,
at
but
that point.
what is the difference between that and abstinence? So they're all just paths. So for
Yeah.
me, I don't really judge. As a person who found sex toys in my house when I was under 10, I don't have a judgment of that. Once a kid is exploring something, their curiosity is going to lead them everywhere, and the only thing that I think you can do as a parent is answer questions honestly.
Mhm.
Because if you don't, they're going to get bad information. So it's it's really difficult to tell somebody what to do or how to do with their child. Um, and I find that the only thing I've ever done is just answer questions honestly when the kid asks me. Tell them the truth. If you're mad that they know the truth, listen, Google's going to get them something worse, and their friends are even worse than Google. At least Google might be more accurate, but their friends in general. So I think being mindful of what a kid asks you and explaining it at their level is the one of the basic things we can do. Because when they ask us about where the babies come from, we literally as parents used to lie and say the birds and the bees and storks and all these things had nothing to do with anything, and it was unhelpful.
Right.
Mhm.
So misinformation, wrong information, and bad information are not helpful. So truth and honesty are the only things that we can do to combat. Ignorance is a killer. Um, not knowing how pregnancy happens, thinking that if you just leave it in or if you don't put a like ignorance got us to some of the places we are with STIs and pregnancy. Then it was like, oh,
Hmm.
putting a condom on can keep you from getting pregnant. Oh shit. But without that knowledge, what were kids doing? Even remember the drinking law. When kids could get prosecuted for drinking and killing their friends accidentally, kids wouldn't report it. We had to actually say, you know what? If you're drinking with your friends or doing drugs with your friends and you report it, no one gets in trouble. and now people are coming forth and more kids are being saved. So giving them bad information and misinformation doesn't help. Giving them the tools to make the best, safest decisions. If we see that happen with drugs and drinking, I don't know why we think sex is any different,
Mm-hmm.
but
Listen,
ignorance isn't going to help. And I'm not, wholesale, let's just open the floodgates, but it's like lying ain't helping.
it
Right.
is not. Listen, I remember those conversations because, like I said, teenage pregnancy in my hometown was as relevant as the mosquitoes during the summer. Like, I went to school with some people who had two, three kids, maybe four before they graduated high school. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Because like I said, sex ed was either you keep your legs closed until you get married, or you gonna be out here popping out babies and having STIs. Like that was the extent, of them trying to educate people on sex ed. So you had people out here thinking, oh, if I do it from the side, then I won't get pregnant. I was
Yeah.
like, that ain't how that works, baby.
And so that to my point of why honesty and knowledge is the only thing that combats ignorance. So no matter what we do, we need to have comprehensive education that does not mislead people,
Hmm.
that does not have them thinking, if I give it to other people, I won't have it. Like all of those misnomers, all of those things have to be stamped out, and only truth will prevail. And we may not all agree on what age we should talk about this, but the fact that the truth is the conversation must be had, and it must be comprehensive in a way that we we can have people understanding their bodies going through changes, understand what those changes are, and the potential implications of what that means, and how to move safely through the world. Um, as adults, self pleasure is important because it releases dopamine, it lowers stress, it helps you understand what you like and be somatically present. And to Nicole's point, it allows you to tell your partner, "Oh, I don't like that. I like to be touched here. I want to be grabbed tightly. I want to be slapped." All those things. So it just enhances communication overall, when you're aware of what you like and you don't like. It's same point if you don't know what food you like and I want to take you out on a date and you're like, I can't decide, I don't know what I like. It's difficult. So if you don't know yourself, it doesn't matter what realm or sphere you have ignorance towards, you're still lacking when it comes to your pleasure and your joy.
Hmm.
So
And
that's
just
one.
help overall. That's
Mhm.
that's that's really it. Like you're not open to know anything. Like every time that I don't I don't masturbate, I don't self please because that's what I got my husband for. That's what I got my wife. That's what I have my partner for. It just it just makes me upset. I'm just like, why? Number one, why are you putting so much pressure on another person to figure out what you like, figure out your body? Like, yes, I understand there's going to be a certain level of exploration with when you have a partner, but give them a fucking roadmap and lead them to the right place instead of taking them on a fucking Carmen San Diego adventure to figure out your where all the X's are on your body. Just tell them what it is. Like not just try to make it seem. Why are you taking this long to do that? Fucking you should know what you like. Even if you're just saying in my past sexual experiences, I know that I like being kissed here, licked here, bitten here, choked here, whatever, grabbed here. Even if you're giving them that, I mean, that's where you start to say things. Say you don't know how to please yourself and you don't know you are stuck in some level of shame or misunderstanding about the sovereignty of your body is crazy at this age. So yeah, so it just I mean that's part of my business. But yeah, I just will never understand that because I'm just like, but it's your body. Like, so you telling me that you allow somebody else to wash your body, or well, I wash my body, of course. So then why does anything else like touch my body crazy? Like,
Agreed.
so
I you know I definitely agree with that. I look at that the same way as I look at you can't let someone else be solely responsible for your happiness.
yep.
Like, you know what I mean?
But
So
that mentality goes hand in hand with the church, and until we stamp out that religious dogma that says that this is right and that is wrong, and until black people come to grow into their own spirituality and go back to what we had in Africa, they're never going to get away from that. The church
mm,
literally tells you your husband's supposed to, your wife's supposed to, and it's like, how can they if I don't know what I like? I can't even tell you what foods I like. I can't tell you what to make for me because I don't
Mhm.
fucking know. So
Right.
it's the same thing with pleasure, and until it's centered back into self, and it's something that you must know for yourself, you must be able to express. It's always going to be outside of you. I
mm,
mean, you think about the Bible, Christianity tells you your Savior is outside of you. Someone's going to come do something, and it's not up to you to do anything. Just wait and accept your plot in life until something changes. So that overarching mentality permeates in every part of people's life when that's what they believe. So it's until that changes, it's going to be difficult to take people out of that prism of the world and where it's wrong to explore yourself as a sin. And that guilt and shame, keeps some people trapped. And then they're waiting on their spouse, but their spouse can't do it because they have no idea, because they don't know what they like. And both people are blindly in the wilderness trying to find their way. Um, so it's a lot of different things, but conversations like this are very helpful because
Definitely.
absolutely.
they spread ideas, and they give people a chance to better understand themselves, and if nothing else, at least be curious.
Mhm.
Which is why I love doing this. So we're gonna go
Right.
ahead and wrap it up here. Let the people know where they can find y'all, what y'all got going on, because I know both of y'all be booked and busy. So definitely let the people know what y'all have. Nicole, I'll
You,
let you go first.
yeah, please, Nicole.
Okay. Well, you can find me on all my social media at Melanated Vixen. That's Vixen with two X's, or melanatedvixen.com. Right now, I've got a mini masterclass series where I've got a different topic every month for the rest of the year. This month, for Masturbation May, my series is talking about solo pleasure and sacred sexual intimacy, with yourself. So, the next session for that is coming up on Thursday, May 22nd. Go to my website or any of my social medias, the links in my social media to go get your tickets and sign up for that. Other than that, and of course, I'm collaborating with Alluring Interventions for that. Other than that, I mean, hit me up if you have questions, if you need a session with me, whatever you need to, just reach out to me. And that's what I got going on so far.
Well, you all know where to find me. I'm Eli Daniel, also known as the Naked Trumpeter. This September, September the 4th, 5th, and 6th, I will be partnering with Sex Down South, and they're going to have their convention every year. And this year, we're going to have the Red Door Sexpo that's going to be a part of it as well. So hit me up on my social medias, ask all your questions, and I will respond as I normally do. And that's all I got for this evening. I'll see y'all again soon.
And of course, y'all know if I'm on the platform, you can find me as Irene, the Passion Queen. And then you can catch me here every other Tuesday, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. And then on Thursdays, except for this Thursday, we're taking a break this Thursday. Irene and Kate Unscripted also here on YouTube, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Make sure y'all download, Worshiper, get the books, purchase all the things. We got more projects in the work. We got some big things coming down the pipeline. So I appreciate all the support and help. And thank you all so much for gracing the stage with us today. I appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Peace
Bye.
out.